So here is an interesting perspective to try on. Imagine that if you just assumed you were a loser. What do I mean by this? Because being a loser is actually relative to who's looking at you. For the results that you have created in your life, you are a winner for those that have not created that result. But from the perspective of those that have the results you want, that you do not have right now, you're the loser. And this is actually a great way to humble ourselves when we can think too highly of ourselves. Like, for example, I just made a video on creating results. And I realized that to a lot of people, from a lot of people's perspectives, I'm pretty much a loser because I do not have the external results that people look for. However, I have a lot of internal results that are very hard to communicate because it's hard to communicate, really, how far fucked I was to how much I've managed to actually get to like a normal baseline. Like, that journey was huge for me. I had issues focusing. I had, issues with anxiety. My mind was just fucked. I had very neurotic paradigms. I had tons of limiting beliefs. I couldn't hold a habit for shit. And I've created a lot of internal results for myself. But now I look at individuals that I admire. And of course, I'm looking at their external results. For example, like getting this money. Like, of course, Wes Watson's like fucking insane with the money he's got. And then, or any YouTuber that's making hundreds of millions of views, the Mr. Beasts in the world and all that. They look at a guy like me with no results on YouTube. It's like, well, shit, that guy's a loser. And then I think about myself, okay, I'll put my loser cap on. And I'm like, all right, well, what the hell would I have to do to become a winner? And that immediately sobers my mind up on and clears my mind on like, clears the bullshit really of like, what am I doing right and what am I doing wrong? A lot of us can distract ourselves into doing a lot of running around, doing a bunch of work, but creating no results, internally and externally. And I realize now, for example, I've definitely, I'm shifting towards an attitude of creating more external, materialistic results rather than the internal results, spiritual results and all that jazz. And it's very interesting, and it's actually very humbling in that way. And so, what if you had this dichotomy in your mind that if you do not have if you have not yet acquired from what you admire, then you're just a nobody. And then if you can channel that motivation in a specific way where you can actually get that to make you get out of bed in the morning and get that to make you do those needle moving activities, then all the power to you. This is exactly really the idea I want to get across here. Because I realize that a lot of us will not make a drastic improvement in our lives if we do not first feel that we are at a deficit. If you've been on a self-improvement journey of your own, you know that when you started, you were kind of at your own personal rock bottom, or you were at a point where it was like, holy shit, I need to do something different here. And I've definitely had a few of those moments in my life. And really, you can build yourself up to a state where you think, you're better than everybody else. But you kind of have to intentionally knock yourself down again and put yourself back at that rock bottom. Otherwise, you're going to get complacent. If you think you have it all, and if you're content with what you've got, then there's not really going to be motivation for you to get somewhere else. Now, being content with the here and now is an important subject on its own. But when it comes to creating the results that you want in your life, you have to create this whole bubble in your mind of like, holy shit, like I'm a loser unless I get that fucking result. And that's a useful, pragmatic paradigm or pragmatic way of looking at the world. Because if that motivates you to get off your ass such that you can finally reach that new bar, then that's exactly what it takes. If that's what it takes, then that's exactly what you need to be doing. Regardless, I'm definitely going to try this thought experiment out where I continually remind myself that like, man, like I'm actually a fucking loser because I don't have the results that I want. And I'll do it in a way where it's like, okay, now here's my opportunity to start my glow up, right? So see if that kind of perception worked for you, or if that's what you need right now. This is definitely a very subjective need. A lot of people need more self-love than ever and just acceptance of themselves. And so if you haven't really accepted yourself, then yeah, this is not a good technique for you. But for those that have already completely fixed their self-esteem and are confident and even like cocky, this is a great technique for you to humble yourself and realize, look, you're only the biggest fish in the current fishbowl that you're in. When you start jumping into bigger fish bowls, when you start swimming into bigger oceans, you're going to start to meet fish that are bigger than you. And you have to humble yourself that there probably is always someone out there that is more hardcore than you, more disciplined than you, has a better body, has better results, and at the same time, they struggled with life even more than you did. They came from an even bigger deficit. They had your problems and more. Think about this. There is someone that has the exact same problems, someone on this planet right now that has the exact same problems that you have and is winning. That's a very humbling thought. So yeah. And this is definitely not to be taken in the wrong way. This is purely just a lens to try on to see if you can gain a new perspective on how serious you are acting about your life right now. How much are you actually siloing your life into creating the result you want, and how much you're really focusing on moving that needle to create that result. Because if we let ourselves think we've got it all for too long, we might we'll realize that the storm brewing in the background will completely take us over. There's that saying where it's like, sweat more in times of peace, because then you'll bleed less and more. And this is a way of implementing that mindset. It's like, if you constantly feel like you're less than, this is actually a a common thing with very hyper successful people is that they feel less than. You know, whether that's healthy is not part of the discussion here. If you want to create a result and you want to be one of these extremely hyper successful people, feeling incredibly inferior and as a result putting shitloads of action into creating results, that is the trait of a hyper successful individual. So realizing the ways that you're a loser can be a good way to jumpstart that feeling of inferiority, to light that fire under your ass that, holy shit, I need to get my shit together and focus and put some action in such that I can actually get something called a fucking result. So let me know in the comments what you think about that one. And I'd like to thank you for watching. And I will see you in the next one.